Get your coffee out. Get your cowboy hat on. Let's get to it. There are really two very confident schools of thought on this subject. And they have a tendency to result in styles of music. Jazz music is based on improvisation. What does that mean? You work on your fundamentals, you work on concepts, notions of time, soloing, polyrhythms. You might even write them down and transcribe parts to better understand what to do, how to go through meters, modulations, rudiments, coordinated patterns. And you do this as a professional musician almost every day. You're practicing all of that stuff in a preconceived manner to better understand how to use the language of this beautiful art form called the drums. So you go to school and you work on all of these concepts. And out comes, once you're out of school and you get into the real world, out comes the idea where everything that you practiced, now you have to forget it and explore what comes out of you naturally. Now that takes a second to understand, because naturally doesn't mean what comes out of you if you didn't work on all that stuff. That's the idea. You work on all of this stuff and in hopes of it one day having created enough automatic responses to come out of you in a way that you want to express. So you might work on patterns and concepts for years, trying to get the automatic responses in you to come out. I remember one of my teachers was Bob Galati. Bless his heart, he passed away a few years ago. He was an amazing drummer. And I was taking lessons with him at his home. And he was showing me a lot of polyrhythmic training exercises with the bell. If you've ever taken with Bob, you know what I'm talking about. And at one point he said, listen, don't get discouraged. I've been working on this for years, and I'm at year 7, I think he said, of developing the layers and layers and layers of these polyrhythmic exercises that he then used in an improvised fashion. So it takes a phenomenal amount of time sometimes, but the goal is to have those things come out of you naturally. This is what jazz training is all about. I don't think there's another stronger way of saying that. Jazz training, unlike classical performance, is all about how to speak you as accurately as you can in the moment. You're not supposed to play a script. And that's the school that I'm a part of. That's how I run my life. I'm a musician. And although I can't confidently defend the idea that I'm a jazz musician, because that needs a lot of proof, albums, recordings, everything else, to kind of define, hey, look, I am. My approach and my concepts used and how I live on the kit and in ensembles is a jazz approach. That's to say it's visceral, it's in the moment, and when I'm not in the ensemble, I'm at home shedding those parts and practicing how to create the automatic responses that need to happen in the work that I do. This is what one school of drumming and music is all about. And that school is very, very fascinated by learning the language of music and art and how to fine-tune it so well that you don't need a script to express yourself. And the people that enjoy that kind of environment also enjoy seeing there's no script. There's no preconceived idea. There's no acting. This is a very, very touchy subject because you see a lot of you see a lot of actors performing music. And very few actually sound convincing. It's not their job. Their job is to act. So if you're an actor playing music, chances are the public is going to remember that you're an actor first. And it's very hard to convince the public that you're not acting that crazy guitar solo, that you're not acting that crazy singing spot. This is a very big difference between acting and being a musician. A jazz musician or a blues musician or a musician in the school of improvisation, in the moment performance. Having said that, you do have actors that understand this concept. And if you're involved in the acting community in a way that's beyond the movie, you will notice that the cream of the crop of actors defend the theater. Why? Because the theater is, in a sense, like jazz. You work on your parts. You wear your hat. You put on your nice shoes. But when it comes time for those curtains to open up, you are in a state of visceral expression. Yes, you know the parts. Yes, you've shedded them. But in the theater, you are supposed to be in a moment of instantaneous, spontaneous, visceral expression. And actors typically will defend this their entire lives. I don't think you'll find any actor that says, no, theater's just crap. It's the complete opposite. And so actors try and get that visceral theatrical approach in movies. But it's not really the same, is it? Because in a movie, you can go, cut, let's do that again. Excuse me, in theater, you can't do that. And so the people that go to the theater, not to say that they like seeing the mistakes, but they enjoy the humanity of theater. Because the art is not just about perfection. If it was, we'd be using robots. It's not about that, if you're of the school that I'm of. It's about the humanity. It's about seeing somebody express concepts and work through the little glitches and the little moments of error, and how they work through them defines who they are in a large way. So in music, it's the same way, same thing. In that improvised school, in that school of improvised thought, this is very different than the classical approach. The classical approach of performing music is very much like the movie. Before you start screaming at me, with a few extreme, crucial details. If you make a mistake in classical music, there's no going back. You just move on. But the goal is perfection in classical music. Playing that part written down at the price of you and who you are. So if you're going through a bad day, it doesn't matter. That part has to be played as it's written down. That's it. In jazz and in improvised music, that's not the case. That's not why we go see it. We want to experience humanity. We want to experience a real person's endeavor, commitment. Buddy Rich said, I don't play the same way twice. Some days on the bandstand, I might go into a crazy solo. Some days I'll just stay on brushes. And that's a way of life, to express your humanity through your performance. And he said, I just hope my drums sound good. And when you get into the sound of your drums, that makes complete sense, because the sound inspires you to play you. When you find the sound that really moves your bones. So there's this whole school, and then there's the other school, which is preconceived, written down performances, scripted performance. I have done both in my career thus far. That's a wonderful way to learn how things should be when you script them down. And I don't know how many concerts I've done, not on the kit, but in the marching band DCI style environment where everything is written down. And whether you had a good day or not, you had to perform those notes on that paper. This approach is in a lot of metal music. It's in a lot of progressive rock music. Notably, when you go to a Rush concert, one of the amazing things about Neil Peart was that the drum parts that you saw him do, if you just dove into that album one time, you might not know that they were actually preconceived, written down in a sense. I'm sure he wrote some of them down, but they were very preconceived. And you see concert after concert him doing the same fill. And this started to get around. And so people would go to Rush concerts and air drum his parts as they were going by. And this creates a rush. And it's a very enjoyable, entertaining way to experience music. Same thing with Dream Theater. And a lot of metal music, progressive rock music, there are so many details and so many modulations and so many, there's a lot of polyrhythmic behavior that and all the sounds are very loud, right? Heavy distortion, heavy drum work, singing off the wall, operatic style, So if it were all improvised, there's a very good chance it would become a mess. Notably because everything is cranked up to 11, in a sense. Is there a better one? Is there one better than another? No. It's just a school. It's just an approach to the instrument. And if you enjoy scripted performances, then great, go do it. If you don't, then great, go do it. But with the internet and everybody having the 2 cents on what's going on in the world, you definitely see people that prefer one to the other and that voice their opinions on this. Hey, you should write all this down. Hey, you should do this and do that and do this and do that. Okay. But this channel and what this post is kind of all about, what is Digodot about? Visceral playing after having practiced a gazillion hours on the subjects that I want to express. They're unedited bursts of ideas that I identify myself with and share with all of you. And a lot of them get thrown away, actually. Because when you're playing in this manner, you have to go back and filter through and say, that was kind of there, but no, and this one and that one. So a lot of it gets thrown away like a writer would do. But the stuff that you're seeing is all the result of having worked on the concepts as an improvised musician would do. And I find that, that's the cream of the crop for me. Incidentally, I've had some people say, why Digodot? They mispronounce it Digado and all these other kind of things, and which I kind of find shocking because Digodot, when I was growing up, Digodot is a drum term. Digodot. Digodot dot, digodot dot, digodot dot, digodot dot, digodot, digodot, digodot dot, digodot dot. Right? It's a drum term, digodot. 2/16 tied to an eighth note, digodot. It's a drum term. And it's a very useful drum term. But beyond that, digodot, there's another term in there that I find ironic and charming, dig. And jazz musicians, notably, use this word a lot, dig. Dig this. Dig it. I dig that. So, digodot, dig a dot, a note. That's where that came from. Dig a note. And that epitomizes pretty much how I am when I play. One note, I gotta dig that note. It's one note at a time. Every single note counts. In the way that one note feeds to another, to another, to another, to another. Dig a dot. It also reveals my respect, admiration, and love for notation, which is kind of a paradox because I love notation. I write stuff down all the time and work on stuff and use notation all the time in my lessons. But I rarely write down my parts. But I love notation. And so it's kind of a twofold. Dig a dot, dig one note at a time, but also dig notation. Notation is a wonderful way to to materialize concepts that you have otherwise just in your mind. So you can put something down that's hard to grasp, that's just kind of like in the cloud in your mind, onto a piece of paper and work it out like that. And you can speed up your learning process with notation. But notation, this is where it's kind of delicate, because notation would suggest that I'm more of the school of preconceived performances. No, not at all. To me, notation is a tool to use, just as it is with any jazz musician, to understand these concepts, to work out the ideas, but then when it comes time to play, all that gets put aside and you just be you. If I didn't do it that way, it'd be like, let's say I was Harrison Ford and had a script how to be Harrison Ford and read this script and it said it was teaching me how to go to the bank and ask for money. So then when I went to the bank, I wasn't actually being me. I was reading, remembering, recalling the script, Harrison Ford, how to go to the bank and ask for money. And so then when I go, I'm going to do that. That doesn't make any sense, right? Well, that's what a lot of that other school is all about. To me, that's great, and I love music of that nature. Love to listen to it. And there's surely a strong, confident, reliable experience with music like that. And when I'm in the mood for that kind of reliability, I'll go listen to that. Not too much though. I'm more in the mood of the powerhouse thing, but in a visceral manner, like Led Zeppelin, like the Police. Now, this gets to something that most people I find, don't get yet. All of the greats, all of the classic music that we love was performed viscerally. The parts were there. When you look at like Motown, and you look at rock and roll, and you look at, of course, jazz and blues, funk music. When you look at almost anything pre-80s, almost. The notions of the songs were there, the notions of the performances were there, and they had to go out and do them much like a football team. You know what the parts are, now do them, and encounter life and do them. But there wasn't a perception, an approach of perfectionism. So when you heard Stop in the Name of Love, right? Stop in the name of love, before you know? When you heard that song, it wasn't exactly the same every time. And little things would happen. And musicians and artists, we loved that. And we still love that. I'll give you another example. I have a concert coming up, and we always have a really good night. And a lot of the people of an older generation come by because we're playing music. Most of it is pre-90s. All the hits of pre-90s era, going back to even the 50s. Some are even earlier than that. But one of my friends said, "Wow, that was a really great night. We had just a lovely time." And they had asked me, are you going to play the same songs again the next show? And I said, well, for the most part, yeah. I mean, our repertoire is large. We got about 30 to 40 songs that we pull out of the hat. And we end up going through almost all of those in the evening. I'd say on average about 25 at least. But I was trying to explain to this person that even though we play those same songs, we might play Penny Lane again, it's not the same. And I kind of got a look. And this was a younger person, very nice, but I kind of got a look, and I tried to explain to this person that that's how it used to be. That's one of the challenges to see the band do the song again and somehow do it as if it was the first time you heard them play it. And that's what all music pre-80s for sure was built on. Even Rush. How do you do that song, YYZ, as if it was the first time you played it? And how do you get it to sound in the audience's ear as if it was the first time they heard it, even though they know the parts? That takes a lot of practice. It takes a tremendous amount of practice off stage every single day. And so I was explaining to this person that that's what we do. And we are now almost in a 3-year residency in this at this address, and it works. And it's a very kind of surreal thing in music. How could we do that? How did bands do that? I mean, Elvis and Johnny Cash used to tour together, and they would play the same songs again and again and again. You know, of a list of 50. But, you know, Blue Suede Shoes or I Got Rhythm, Johnny Cash would do that again and again and again. And when you hear him play those songs, I Got Rhythm, for example, they don't all sound the same. There's always something new and nice about it that breathes life into that version. That's why, incidentally, you can go see many, many, many versions of any group pre-80s and enjoy that song. That's why, for example, you have, notably in jazz, alternate takes. So when you hear Coltrane, My Favorite Things, there's the preferred take, and then you have the alternate takes on the same CD. So you might have 3 versions of My Favorite Things. And for musicians that enjoy that unscripted, unpreconceived manner of performing music, for the humanity of it, those CDs are gold. They are gold. Not a lot of bands did those alternate takes. Published them, I mean. Led Zeppelin is one of them that did that, though. Or I should say the label now is showing those on new editions. And you get to hear alternate takes of several of their songs. And it's beautiful. It's awesome. And you also discover why the main one was chosen as the main one, but there are still gold nuggets in those alternate takes. And you see that process of viscerally performing the same song and somehow capturing new magic. Now, in the other school of thought, that wouldn't make any sense. An alternate take, when it's all performed, written down, you know, it's like choose a classical piece of music, non-theatrical, but performed in the studio, written down. When you look at the alternate takes, you're going to see mistakes, and that's why the alternate take wasn't chosen. because there aren't supposed to be major fluctuations and variations of any given moment in a classical piece of music. Same goes for scripted, written down, heavy rock, metal music. There aren't supposed to be major fluctuations. The goal is to perform that piece as it was written down, as it was preconceived, and enjoy the effect of those parts functioning properly together. That's definitely an approach that's admired by a lot of people, me included. But you don't see alternate takes of Prelude number 23 by Chopin, or Bela Bartok String Quartet alternate take. You go, why? You know? The only time I remember actually seeing a worthy alternate take in an environment where things were really preconceived and scripted and written down was with the 1955 Glenn Gould performance of the Goldberg Variations. And I have it. You have the double album. I think it was just on 2 CDs. It might have been 3, actually. But you have the 1955 performance, and then alongside you have, I think it's the 1985 performance. And they're very different. Now, they're not, they're different in tempos. Glenn chose different BPMs through different passages. It wasn't just a demonstration of, hey, look, spanning 30 years, I can do this piece to perfection without problem. That wasn't the goal. The goal was to show a new perception of BPMs through different passages, and it's a very it's a very fascinating and entertaining, amusing experience to witness the evolution of an artist's ear spanning 30 years and re-looking at a piece and saying, you know, I don't feel this area that fast anymore or this slow, for example. And that changes everything. Changes your touch and everything else. So, wow, this is a really dense one. But this channel, what is Digodot all about? It's about humanity. I am not sitting here preconceiving the pieces that I play for you for the most part. I think I've maybe done 5, maybe 10 in the hundreds of videos and posts that I've showed. The majority of the material is the result of my work off screen, showing you that in hopes that what I'm saying is that I've worked on it enough so that it comes out as I want it to viscerally. To me, that's my challenge. I enjoy that challenge a lot. Can I write everything down that I do? Yes, I can. And I have a notation system called the universal meter that allows me to do all of that in a much easier fashion, because writing it down with the standard would create tons and tons of metric modulations. Anyway, so yes, I can write them all down. I've been thinking about doing that one day to show you that that can happen. But this channel is all about humanity. It's all about you seeing me unscripted. I'm not acting. This is real. And if you like that stuff, there are a lot of other channels, incidentally, by drummers that I know of. I won't plug them right here because I don't want you to get the idea that I'm doing that. That's not what this channel is all about. But there are a lot of other ones out there that are doing the same thing. And drummers understand this. Drummers are kind of like a cool club. We get this, you know. Very few and far between care about anything else. You know, most of the people that I know do not want to feel like we're being talked to by a robot or an actor. That's not what this art form is all about. And that's what this channel is defending. And it will defend it for the duration of its career. Humanity. So if you like that, and you like to hear real playing, unscripted, in the moment, with a lot of technique and practice prior to, and ongoing, subscribe. You will get nothing but that. And these talks, which are all unedited and real, I'm not going back and using a script. You're seeing who I am as if we were just hanging out at a cafe or a bar or whatever. So more news soon. Thanks very much for following, subscribing if you did, and get ready because there's a lot more coming. Ciao.